It's 9. Time for the best ideas are free with Ben Young at bwagy.com. Morning, Ben.
Good morning.
Today we're talking about the alternative MBA.
Yes. So it's that time of year. Last week we were talking about New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
So I thought there were a lot of people talking about and thinking about whether they can get into an MBA or going back to university for a bit more education this year.
Man, scary thought.
Yeah, it's a scary thought for many people. You should definitely do it if you can, but here's an alternative which kind of mixes in a bit more life experience. And so I was reading Chris Gillibo's Art of Nonconformity blog. Now, Chris is a travel blogger whose aim is to travel to every country in the world. And to facilitate that, he kind of can't hold down a regular job. He has to look at different ways of creating an income, and then kind of mixing up his responsibilities with being able to travel.
Yeah.
And so one of the things he was talking about is, instead of going for your MBA, why don't you plan out a year of life experiences, things that you wouldn't normally do? And so I thought it could just be a few good talking points to talk through. There is an assumed cost of this, and he's saying all of this could cost you up to $10,000. So definitely is a cost, but I think a lot of these things you could probably do for free or very close to free.
Just getting back to what he does, so he travels the world, and how does he derive an income from that?
So he doesn't fully break down all the numbers, so he does a number of things. He does writing, he builds travel products, like he's got a travel hacking product, and he's figured out a whole lot of different ways to earn travel rewards in terms of like flyer miles or air points bonuses to get cheap or free flights, and he's got a few other products around that.
And obviously his blog must be some income from that as well.
Yeah, I think he's got over 100,000 readers.
Okay, well, right.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, so number one on the list was subscribe to The Economist and read every issue religiously.
Huh.
So subscribing to The Economist isn't something that everyone would do, but I'm sure in every issue of Economist there must be something we could all have a read of, right?
Yeah.
And you definitely learn a lot. So he's saying, do that, it'll cost you $97 for the year, and you'll learn a heck of a lot, based on the discussion of looking at different economic issues.
There's also the Economist website as well, which
exactly
has a lot of the articles.
So you could also subscribe on Kindle if you've got a Kindle or a smartphone which has the Kindle, for example.
Or Zinio as well.
How do you spell that one?
Zinio, which is an app that's definitely on Android where you can subscribe to magazines through.
Excellent. Yeah, or there's iBooks as well if you're an iPhone user. And you can get The Economist and many other magazines on there. For example, I get the Harvard Business Review. If I was to buy a physical copy locally, it'll cost me $30 per issue.
Yeah.
If I subscribe through Kindle, it costs me $4.
Wow, big difference.
Yeah, big difference.
Huh.
And I can just flick through them.
Okay, cool.
So great one off the bat. Next one is something that we all thought we'd do as kids, but we didn't quite do. Memorise the names of every country, world capital, and current president or prime minister of the world, just as a way to kind of teach yourself about different parts of the world, discover new countries and what's happening there. Just kind of arouse your curiosity a bit, and it's actually quite fun.
Impress friends at dinner.
Yeah, impress everyone really. The best pickup line is. His next one was buy a round the world plane ticket or use frequent flyer miles to travel to several different regions and do some volunteer work there. So that's another great one, and I'm a big advocate of travelling to kind of broaden your horizons, because you don't really learn about a different culture till you're completely immersed in it, and it helps you understand it, but also helps you understand how good it is here in New Zealand. I work in the marketing industry, and there's a lot of creative people who sometimes bemoan the state of the industry here, but as Kiwis, don't realise how fortunate we are to be surrounded by so many talented, creative thinkers and problem solvers. We're always right off the bat with a solution to a problem.
Okay.
So, definitely travel. And this one could be a little bit controversial. Read the basic texts of the major world religions, the Torah, the New Testament, the Quran, and the teachings of Buddha. Visit a church, a mosque, a synagogue, and a temple. So he's like, there's no cost for that, it's just a bit of time. It's quite interesting.
Get your spiritual side sorted out.
Yeah. Try something else.
Yeah.
Interesting. Next one, subscribe to a language learning podcast and listen to each 20-minute episode 5 times a week for the entire year. And then on the back of that, attend a local language club once a week to practice. So that's quite good. That's not too hard. 20 minutes, we'll jump on the bus,
you
or
might
drive into work.
Might just learn by osmosis through those podcasts.
Well, hopefully at least you'll start to recognise some of the patterns. Like when I went to South America, I completely forgotten all my Spanish, but once I was there immersed in it, you started to pick up and recognise the patterns, and it's just great.
Yeah.
The next one, which is also another one that I'm a big advocate of, is loan money to an entrepreneur through kiva.org and arrange to visit him or her whilst you're away on your trip.
That's cool.
So kiva.org is a microfinance website which allows you to loan money directly to entrepreneurs in developing countries.
Yeah.
And so I've seen a few people do this where they've loaned money to a business in, say, South America or Asia or India, and then they go and visit that entrepreneur to see how they're going.
Now, didn't you loan money to a bakery? Was it a bakery?
Yeah. So just out of Cuzco in Peru, there a little village I travelled through. A loan popped up on there on Kiva a few years ago, and I loaned $25 US to a local woman who had a bakery, and she received $250 total, so I provided 10% of the loan, and then within 6 months she'd fully paid it back, and she was able to make $8 a day profit from her bakery, which is incredible because the local people live off about 20 cents a day.
Yeah.
So for someone to generate $8 profit, it's quite good. And the other thing with investing in developing countries is that any money that you put in cycles through the economy 5 times in a year. So if you put in, say, $25, you actually contribute $125 to their GDP.
Right.
So there's a great flow-on effect.
Yeah.
And also that entrepreneur has extra funds that they can invest in other activities or invest back into the community.
Have you done any others since then, or?
I've done about 100 more.
Wow.
So I've done a mix of some more bakeries. There's lots of groups of entrepreneurs who kind of form a mini lending group.
Yeah.
And I quite like this model because what you're doing is you're giving bulk of cash to, say, a dozen entrepreneurs in a neighbourhood who actually have a vast collective knowledge, and they should be able to spot a lot of the opportunities. So I quite like that model.
Very cool.
And a few little supermarkets and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Nice.
Should we do one more?
What's that website again?
Kiva.org.
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 Okay. Yeah.
And the great thing is you get the money back once they repay it.
Cool.
Should we do one last one?
Yeah.
Let me have a quick look. Here we go. Learn to write by listening to the Grammar Girl podcast on iTunes and buying Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott.
That's a very popular podcast, that Grammar Girl.
Wow. Yeah, Grammar Girl.
Yeah.
So I've had a few people recommend this to me. So it's a great thing we can all use: reading, writing, basic maths. So learning to write will make you a more effective communicator. It'll help you improve your own confidence with writing. And writing is a skill. The more you do it and the more time you put into improving it, the better you'll become.
So there are some alternative MBAs of sorts. What was the original website that all came from?
If you search for Chris Gillibo, The Art of Nonconformity. Gillibo is quite a mouthful, so just search for Art of Nonconformity, you'll find it.
Sounds like an interesting blog to check out. You can also look at Ben's home on the web, which is bwagy.com, and also the same name there on Twitter as well. Thanks very much, Ben.
Cheers.